Intro: The Awakening of Power. There comes a moment in every person's life when the noise of the world becomes unbearable, when validation, attention, and constant chasing start to feel like chains around the soul. Cornel West once said that power is not the ability to dominate others, but the courage to master yourself. That, my friend, is where Stoic strength begins. You see, true power has nothing to do with control over others. It's not about chasing anyone. Not a woman, not approval, not even success. True power is born in the quiet fire of restraint, in the stillness that follows temptation, and in the voice that says, "I will not be moved by what is temporary." This video is not about tricks, it's about transformation. It's about the kind of internal evolution that makes a person magnetic without effort. Because when you understand the Stoic principle, that the world outside has no power over the fortress within, you begin to move differently, speak differently, and live differently. You stop chasing because you realize what's already yours cannot be taken, and what isn't meant for you cannot be forced. Today, we'll walk through 7 truths, 7 parts that reveal how Stoic men and Stoic minds gain power not by control, but by calm. By mastering their emotions, they master attraction, connection, and life itself. So take a deep breath. This is not a sermon of silence. It's a declaration of power. Because when you rise above your impulses, you no longer chase. The world starts to revolve around your stillness. The law of stillness, power lies in calm. The modern world teaches us that movement equals progress, that the louder you are, the more power you have. But the Stoic knows better. The Stoic knows that the man or woman who cannot be shaken, who remains calm in the midst of chaos, radiates a kind of gravity no noise can compete with. Cornel West reminds us that greatness doesn't come from domination, but from integrity. And integrity means wholeness, being unbroken by distraction. The first step toward gaining power over any situation or relationship is learning to master stillness. When you stop reacting to every little thing, when you stop chasing validation, something miraculous happens. The energy you once gave away begins to return to you. People feel it. Women feel it. The air around you changes because your focus has become magnetic. The Stoic doesn't chase attention. He commands it through his silence. Because silence backed by purpose is louder than any argument. Think about it. When everyone else is shouting, scrolling, and seeking attention, the one who stands still becomes the center of gravity. Calmness is not passivity. It's controlled power. Stillness is the art of owning your energy. When someone tests you, tries to provoke jealousy, or plays emotional games, the Stoic mind doesn't flinch. You understand that emotions are signals, not orders. You acknowledge them, but they don't dictate your reaction. And in that moment of calm, you create space. Space for clarity, space for strength, space for self-respect. This is why Stoic men and women are so rare. They refuse to let temporary emotions destroy permanent peace. Remember this. Whoever controls your attention controls your reality. Don't give that power away. The moment you can sit in stillness unbothered and unshaken, you become untouchable. The power of emotional discipline. The Stoic magnetism. Let's talk about the second pillar, emotional discipline. Emotional discipline is not the suppression of feeling. It's the mastery of expression. It's knowing when to speak, when to stay silent, and when to walk away. It's what turns ordinary confidence into commanding presence. Cornel West speaks often about the courage to think critically, to feel deeply, and yet not be consumed by the chaos around you. That's what emotional discipline looks like in action. It's emotional intelligence sharpened by wisdom. When you master emotional discipline, people feel safer around you. They trust you. They respect you, because your energy doesn't fluctuate with the wind. You're not up one day and down the next. You become consistent, reliable, magnetic. Think of attraction not as a chase but as a pull. Emotional discipline transforms you into a force that draws others in naturally, without manipulation or pretense. When someone tries to test your patience, and they will, you don't react. You respond. When a situation feels unfair, you don't explode. You observe. And in that moment, you display power. The Stoic man and woman understand this. Emotional chaos is what the weak feed on. But composure is what the strong live by. A person who cannot control their emotions becomes a slave to them. But a person who can feel deeply and still act wisely becomes a master of their destiny. Women, men, leaders, friends, they all sense this kind of mastery. It's not arrogance, it's assurance. It's quiet power, rooted in emotional intelligence. Emotional discipline gives you the strength to detach from drama without losing empathy. You can care but not cling. You can love but not lose yourself. Because love, like power, isn't about chasing, and it's about choosing. The Stoic chooses peace every time. In relationships, this makes you rare. In life, it makes you legendary. Because people will always be drawn to those who move through fire without burning, who face storms without shaking, who love deeply without losing their center. That is Stoic magnetism, the kind of power that cannot be faked, bought, or imitated. It can only be earned through self-mastery. So ask yourself, what kind of energy are you radiating today? The energy of control or the energy of chaos? Because in the end, the one who wins is not the one who chases but the one who remains centered, calm, and unshakably free. The law of detachment. Freedom creates power. Detachment is not coldness. It is clarity. It's the moment you realize that love, respect, and loyalty lose meaning when they're chased. Cornel West once said, "You can't lead the people if you don't love the people, and you can't save the people if you don't serve the people." Detachment isn't about abandoning emotion. It's about refusing to let emotion turn into dependency. The Stoic understands this. Attachment without awareness is bondage. When you cling, you shrink. When you chase, you trade your freedom for the illusion of control. But when you detach, when you love freely without fear of loss, you transcend the transaction and step into truth. Detachment means you can appreciate beauty without needing to possess it. You can value connection without demanding it. You can care for someone without being consumed by their approval. And that is where real power lives, not in holding on but in letting go with grace. In modern relationships, people confuse intensity with intimacy. They mistake chaos for chemistry, but the Stoic sees beyond that noise. He knows that obsession is weakness disguised as passion. True passion breathes freely. It doesn't beg for air. When you're detached, you're dangerous. Not because you don't care, but because you finally understand what deserves your care. You stop negotiating your peace for someone else's comfort. You no longer bend to win attention. You stand tall and attract respect. The world becomes your mirror. When you operate from detachment, the universe echoes your energy. Calm, focused, abundant. People chase what is rare, and nothing is rarer than someone who doesn't need to chase. Detachment is not giving up. It's growing up. It's saying, I love deeply, but I belong completely to myself. That kind of self-possession terrifies the insecure and inspires the wise. Because you cannot be manipulated when you no longer fear losing what isn't yours to begin with. That is freedom. And freedom, not desire, is the foundation of attraction. The strength of purpose. Mission over validation. There is one thing every Stoic warrior understands. A mission makes you magnetic. Purpose turns ordinary people into leaders, seekers into builders, and wanderers into warriors. Cornel West reminds us, you can't be a love warrior without a cause. Without purpose, energy leaks into distraction, but with purpose, even silence speaks volumes. The Stoic man or woman doesn't wake up asking who will text them back. They wake up asking, what am I building today? What am I serving beyond myself? Because people are drawn to motion, not chaotic motion, but direction. Purpose gives you posture. It shapes how you walk into a room, how you look someone in the eyes, how you respond to disappointment. A person aligned with purpose doesn't chase. They attract allies, respect, and love by the sheer weight of their conviction. Look at history. The ones who moved mountains weren't the ones begging to be seen. They were the ones too focused on their calling to care who was watching. When you live for purpose, rejection loses its sting. When you live for purpose, approval loses its value. Because purpose fills the void that validation never could. Women, men, friends, strangers, and they all feel it. They sense when you stand for something real, and they're pulled toward that stability like gravity. Purpose transforms loneliness into solitude and heartbreak into fuel. It takes pain and makes it sacred. It teaches you that the worst day of your life can be the foundation of your greatest strength, if you use it. Remember this truth. Attraction rooted in purpose lasts longer than attraction rooted in pleasure. Pleasure fades with novelty. Purpose endures with meaning. So build, serve, create, contribute. When your mission becomes your magnet, you'll never have to chase again, because your focus itself will become irresistible. The power of boundaries. Respect begins with no. Here lies the fifth law of Stoic power. Boundaries are not walls. They're doors that open only to respect. Cornel West teaches that dignity is non-negotiable, and the same truth applies to relationships. Without boundaries, love becomes exploitation. Without self-respect, compassion turns into compromise. The Stoic doesn't fear saying no. They understand that no is not rejection, it's direction. It tells the world who you are and what you stand for. Boundaries define your value. When you don't enforce them, you teach others that your time and emotions are cheap. But when you set them with quiet confidence, you communicate. I am available to love, not to be used. Boundaries don't push people away. They filter them. They reveal who's drawn to your essence and who's only attracted to your access. When you stop saying yes to everything, you start saying yes to yourself. And something powerful happens when your no becomes sacred. You start attracting people who also know how to protect their peace. Mutual respect replaces manipulation. Presence replaces pressure. Balance replaces burnout. Too many people mistake people-pleasing for kindness, but kindness without boundaries is self-betrayal. The Stoic knows that the world may test your limits, but only you decide if they'll be crossed. Each time you honor your boundaries, your self-trust grows. Each time you break them, your self-worth shrinks. This is why discipline is not punishment, and it's protection. A boundary is a mirror of your inner law. It says, I refuse to be less than I am just to keep someone else comfortable. That declaration radiates authority, confidence, and calm. In love, boundaries keep desire healthy. In life, they keep ambition clean. In spirit, they keep you free. Never forget. The one who cannot say no will always be controlled by those who can. So speak your no with peace, not anger. Because when your boundaries are strong, your energy becomes unbreakable. That is how Stoic power works. through stillness, discipline, detachment, purpose, and boundaries. Each layer builds the foundation for influence that doesn't shout but resonates. You don't have to chase anything when your presence itself commands attention. The discipline of patience. Time is the true test of power. In a world addicted to instant gratification, patience has become the rarest form of power. Cornel West often reminds us that greatness is born in the slow burn of struggle, not in the flashes of convenience. The Stoic knows that anything built too quickly rarely stands long. Patience is not waiting passively. It is the art of enduring purposefully. Every Stoic understands this sacred law. Time reveals all truth. You don't have to rush outcomes when your roots run deep. When you plant a seed of vision, it takes time to grow. And if you dig it up every day to check the progress, you destroy the very thing you planted. The wise learn to water their goals with consistency, not desperation. Patience gives you perspective. It turns frustration into focus and waiting into wisdom. The impatient mind chases results. The disciplined mind cultivates resilience. That's why you can tell the difference between those who act from power and those who act from panic. One moves with rhythm, the other with restlessness. When you are patient, you control time. When you are impulsive, time controls you. People who rush love, rush success, rush validation, they end up exhausted. But those who move with calm conviction create momentum that lasts decades. Cornel West says, "You can't lead the people if you're afraid of the dark." And the dark he speaks of is the waiting season, the uncertain time when nothing seems to move, when faith feels foolish. Yet that's where character is forged. That's where patience turns from theory into transformation. When you can stand firm in the storm without demanding the sun to rise on your schedule, you gain mastery over life itself. Because patience isn't weakness. It's emotional weightlifting. It trains your spirit to hold peace under pressure. The Stoic understands that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is to do nothing rash at all. You wait. Not because you're idle, but because you're aligned. You trust your timing because you trust your preparation. And slowly your calmness starts to intimidate the noise. People feel your steadiness. They sense that you're not chasing and you're choosing. And choice, not chase, is the essence of power. Patience whispers what pride never will. What's meant for you is already moving toward you. All you must do is stay ready. The legacy of inner strength. Becoming the unshakable one. Now we arrive at the seventh and highest principle, inner strength. Everything we've explored, stillness, discipline, detachment, purpose, boundaries, patience, all lead to this one truth. Power that comes from within can never be taken away. Cornel West once said, "Never forget that justice is what love looks like in public. And justice begins with how you treat your own soul." Inner strength is self-respect turned into a lifestyle. It's the quiet knowing that even if the world misunderstands you, you will not abandon yourself. The Stoic gains power over others, not by control, but by example. When others panic, you remain poised. When others beg for attention, you move in purpose. When others play games, you walk away with grace. That's inner strength, not loud, not dramatic, but immovable. You begin to realize that peace is the loudest flex. And when you reach that point, you stop negotiating your worth. You understand that being unshakable is more attractive than being perfect. Because perfection exhausts, but composure inspires. Inner strength doesn't mean you don't feel pain. It means pain doesn't own you. It means you can experience loss without losing your identity, disappointment without despair, love without losing your logic. The Stoic knows that emotions are visitors, not rulers. They come, they teach, they leave, but your center remains. When you become the unshakable one, you don't compete, you elevate. You don't chase, you attract. You don't beg, you build. You don't demand loyalty, your presence earns it. This kind of strength radiates far beyond attraction. It defines legacy. People remember the ones who refused to break when breaking was expected. They remember the voice that stayed calm in the chaos, the spirit that remained compassionate yet firm, the heart that kept beating with faith when logic said, "Give up." That is the power of Stoic mastery. It doesn't just change your relationships, it transforms your reality. Because once you've conquered yourself, no one else can conquer you. The final word, the power beyond chasing, and now we return to where we began. How Stoic men gain power over any woman without chasing. It was never truly about women or control. It was about self-command. It was about reclaiming the energy you've been pouring into the wrong battles and using it to build the kingdom within. Cornel West says, "You can't have hope without courage, and you can't have courage without struggle." The Stoic embraces that truth. He welcomes struggle because he knows struggle births substance. He knows that when you no longer seek approval, you find purpose. When you stop chasing, you start leading. Power isn't in pursuit. It's in presence. The man or woman who learns to master their emotions, guard their peace, live their purpose, and honor their boundaries will always be irresistible. Not because they chase love, but because they become love. Not because they control others, but because they control themselves. And that's the ultimate paradox. When you no longer need power over anyone, you gain power over everything. So stand tall in your stillness. Be fierce in your patience. Be fearless in your detachment. Carry your purpose like fire, your boundaries like armor, and your compassion like a sword of light. You don't have to chase anything. You are the calm in the storm. You are the gravity in the room. You are the living proof that true power, Stoic power, is not about having more, but about being more. Let the world come to you, for your stillness has already spoken. And that is how the Stoic gains power, without ever needing to chase.